So welcome, thank you all for being here today. My first question is, if you can please tell me your name, your firm, and briefly about yourself and about your career leading up to the Better Blackstone Design Project. Art, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Christian. Arthur Dyson, an architect with Dyson Jansen Architects. We've been in Fresno about 50 years. I have general practice.
Thank you, Art.
Paul.
Thank you, Art. Paul Halajan, I'm the principal architect with Paul Halajan Architects. Rich.
Thank you, Paul. Richard Valencourt, I'm a landscape architect with Robert Boral Landscape Architects here in Fresno. We've been in business since 1975 and have a great pleasure working on this project.
Yes, Terry Broussard, Broussard Associates Landscape Architects. Been in Fresno and Clovis for 30 years, been in business for myself about 25, so great project to work on.
Thank you, Terry. Sheila Hakimipur, urban designer with Urban Diversity Design, and I've been in Fresno working with all these great guys and Fresno Metro for more than 10 years now.
Thank you, Sheila. And Tony Avila, I'm an architect and principal with Darden Architects here in Fresno. Been with the firm for about 27, 28 years, and the firm's been in existence since 1959. So, thanks.
Thank you, Tony. So Art, how did you get into architecture? Why here in Fresno? If you can tell us about your career here in Fresno. Why did you stay in Fresno?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, it threw me a little bit. We moved here from Carmel, where we were there for 2 years. It was a good move. It was supposed to be temporary, but that was over 50 years ago. Wow. Good opportunities in Fresno. A lot of challenges, a lot of opportunities. The extreme weather certainly makes it interesting. But we've had a long run, a good career, and happy to be here and happy to be with this group.
We're glad to have you, Art.
So I'm a Fresno native. I grew up in Fresno. I left the area to study architecture at UC Berkeley in the early 80s. I got both my bachelor's and my master's degree there. I ended up working in a large firm in San Francisco for about 10 years. Was an associate. Loved the firm, but at a certain point I decided it was time to come back to Fresno, and my wife and I returned in 1998, and I've never regretted it. Rich?
Thanks, Paul. So I, again, like Paul, am a native of Fresno, born in 1958 here. Spent most of my life here in Fresno and have enjoyed it so much that there's really no reason to leave. My family's here. My sisters, my mother still lives in our family home near Shaw and Maroa. So vested interest in Fresno and enjoy it, and probably will stay for quite a while.
Yeah, so it was quite a journey from Southern California to Fresno for our family, and haven't regretted it. It's been a really great move. We have just planted roots here and been in business, like I said, for over 25 years, and just seeing how this place has grown and continues to just be that much more of a better place to live.
So I came to US and landed here in Central Valley, basically from Iran. I did my architecture background back home in Iran, and then Central Valley, first Visalia, and then Fresno became my hometown. I went to Berkeley, like Paul did a graduate program at UC Berkeley for 2 years, and came back here to temporary, like Art, and that temporary is now 10 years, 20 years almost, and
wow.
Very happy to be here. Fresno is my hometown, for sure.
And I've much the same story as maybe more like Paul. Native of Fresno, grew up here, went away to school as well, went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and then ended up coming back to the Valley for a couple of years, a few years. And then I still had a yearning to go up to the Bay Area just to experience it. And, I was up there and I realized that, Fresno was still home. And what am I doing up here making this place better? I ought to be at home making my home better. And so decided to move back, and much like everybody else, never regretted it for 1 minute. So love it. Thanks.
What does the Better Blackstone Design Challenge project mean to you personally and professionally? Art, we'll start with you.
Well, I think it's an opportunity to look at what we have and what we could have, exploring alternatives, offering maybe a different viewpoint from what we've done in the past. We've moved so fast technologically in the world that we live in here, and architecture hasn't always moved quite as fast as the rest of the world. It's an opportunity to, again, show a better way, something maybe a little bit more meaningful, a new direction.
Yeah, thank you, Art.
Well, so at Berkeley, the curriculum is really kind of very humanistic in terms of its approach, and I think the fundamental premise of the program at Berkeley is that you can actually change behavior, you can change society through design, and I've always questioned if that's really true. So I think what Better Blackstone means for me is it's a great experiment to see if that's really true. If we are successful, if we've designed well, and if the plan for Blackstone actually gets implemented, it'll be a great way to see if we can actually change society for the better through design. So that's kind of a personal interest, and it's also a professional interest. I want to know if that's really true.
Inquiring minds, as they say. So again, being born and bred here, vested interest in the health and well-being of our community. I see a great opportunity, and I'm enthused that this team has shown what can be done to Blackstone. I remember growing up and shopping at Whitefront with my mom back in the 80s, and speaking to what Paul has just said, we embrace the idea of change as a good thing, and specifically, Paul, dig something out of your memory here. Back in 1985, when we first worked together, downtown Clovis, we reclaimed downtown Clovis from just a kind of a back street, and it is still a thriving part of the city to date. So I think we have an opportunity here to make the community bright again and to reclaim some things that have been overlooked.
Thank you.
Terry?
Well, I would echo many of the same things that are said already about what this could be. And I think that as a designer, you want to see transformation. And that transformation can happen on many levels, whether it's a brand new naked piece of dirt or it's something that has been being reused. And I think Blackstone is one of those templates that it's been around for a while, and that we can repurpose it, reimagine it, and make it a place that's viable and people-centric, if you will, and provide whatever it's going to provide, housing, professional office, or whatever it may be, but that it has just been repurposed and just becomes part of the beautification of Fresno and the fabric of the street, especially as a street like Blackstone.
Well, from a personal point of view, since I moved here, I heard over and over that, oh, it's not in Fresno, oh, it's not for Fresno. So, and people, this is like a common culture that people would go out of Fresno to experience urban environment, urban life, street life, and walking on the street and sidewalks and all that. And our youth, our young people like to be in those environments, and they often go and find it in other communities. I have 2 young kids. I want them to be here happy. I want them to experience those urban lifestyles here in Fresno. And I think Blackstone is absolutely one of the opportunity areas in Fresno to give us that. 100 feet or so of right-of-way right in the middle for us to do so much amazing thing than what is happening right now. Add sidewalks, add street, friendly, pedestrian-friendly and bike-friendly facilities and infrastructure that would be nice to be there on Blackstone going to point A to point B, and then our kids, our young generation would like to stay and go there and have fun. So for me, it's just the place to do the transformation and to see the change happen. And we don't need to mock it up in one piece of land out there like many of these shopping areas, trying to create mainstream. So
I guess what it's meant to me personally is it's been a lot of fun, and been a lot of fun to work with this group. And it's also a passion to try to do and improve my community in some way if I can. Professionally, it's a chance to try to use maybe my talents to improve my community. And professionally, it's also the same thing. It's been a joy and a lot of fun to work with all these design professionals and the interns that we had, and really to see the ideas that sprout up, the different way of thinking, of looking at our city and how to solve these problems that we have here. It's just been amazing and a lot of fun. So
Thank you. And I know I've enjoyed and learned so much from working with all of you, right? Never all these architectural terms, units, dwellings, transit-oriented development. It's been a lot. What potential do you see for Better Blackstone Design Challenge products to positively impact how the Blackstone corridor and Fresno can change for the better?
Well, Blackstone is one of the major corridors in Fresno, and certainly with vehicular traffic. And I've always gone back to a quote that Robert Frost said. He wrote a metaphorical poem called The Mending Wall. And in that poem, he said, if I were to build a wall, I would first ask myself two questions. What am I walling in, and what am I walling out? It's certainly true along Blackstone. We would like to embrace nature, but we're looking out on a vehicular street with asphalt, emissions, sound pollution. So how do we embrace nature? How do we bring that back in? How do we make a truly livable community? And I think that's been the challenge for all of us. And I think one of the main strengths of this group here is not only the passion that everybody brings, but the diversity of thought. We have planners, we have landscape architects, we have architects. So it's been a challenge. It's been fun working together. I think it's been very successful in some of these solutions that we've come out with. And got to thank Keith Berthold for the concept of seeing what is and realizing that something better could come out of that. And it's been a real honor and a privilege to work with this group and be a part of this.
I think the main product of this effort really is a template for how to solve a really difficult problem. I think there are many communities throughout the United States that have a similar condition where they have their own version of Blackstone. So I think what we have done here as the design community is we've come up with a template for a process to how to solve the problem. So I think one of the main products of this effort is not only a template for how to solve a problem in our own backyard, but I think what we've done is we've demonstrated how architects, landscape architects, urban designers, and nonprofits can all come together to solve a really difficult urban problem that has an economic component to it, has a health component to it, it has a psychological component to it, it has a traffic component to it. It has so many facets to this problem. So fundamentally, I think what we've done is demonstrated how design thinking can be applied to a difficult problem that many other communities have. And I think as a group, we're all to be commended for crafting a really well thought out template.
I would agree. And I think we're on the path to, getting you that resolution to that one question you had about, whether it's going to work or not. So I would agree that this team has put together a product that is living and can be used not just on Blackstone. I think it can be used throughout the city of Fresno. And the potential for that is just outstanding. The team has put together products that can translate throughout any portion of the city. So that template that Paul is talking about is just very defining and a good vehicle to lead you down the path to where we need to go. So that said, and then to further what Art said is Blackstone has drifted from a human space. It is not habitable at this point, in my mind. as a landscape architect, we design spaces for people, exterior spaces, and to be comfortable is where you like to be. Right now, Blackstone is not that way. So the products that have been developed by the team have identified ways that we can combat the degeneration of the urban space, the open space, and hopefully if those templates can be used and utilized and continue to be utilized, we can turn things around and get a nice, healthy community again. Terry?
Yeah, along with all that's been said before, I think Paul did a great job of describing the template. And I think that the thing that's interesting about this template, it's not super radical. It's not like, oh, this is out there, guys. I don't know if we can pull this off. No, it's just sometimes just common sense and just how spaces actually work. And, we still have traffic. Well, how do we blend traffic and this model together? Well, there's ways to do that. And that may change 50 years from now to more mass transit. I mean, who knows? But I guess the point is, it's in some ways incremental, but at the same time, it's transformational in a larger sense. So that's not like this scary metric that we're throwing out there to our city, and everybody just freaks out. I think this is doable, and it makes financial sense, and for all the right reasons. So it's exciting. See how it goes from here.
Well, just to add on to everything that was rightly said, this project, this effort of Better Blackstone Design Challenge was just really picking a vision that obviously Keith had, and nobody believed in it, and everybody came together, and just with a menu of all the products that was created based from this project by all these great firms, from graphics to feasibility study to work with the Fresno State students to later on urban footprint information and documents we're going to get. It was just really proving that this vision that nobody would actually support or think that is possible is possible. And those graphics and studies and calculations and are out there for everybody to use and get inspired, and for property owners to business owners to future developers that may want to come to Fresno, and to existing ones that we already saw some mindset changing, and some people actually start thinking that the old way is not the only way. So I think that was the main thing, creating those templates, creating those graphics, and it's just a lot of it. I just had a conversation with somebody from outside, and he complimented, because he was a professional, look at our project and was like, I cannot believe how much this team collectively created. And from every level of that building to open space to streets to sidewalks, so every level was thought and was designed. And this is just a great gift to the city of Fresno.
I agree, obviously, with what everybody said, and especially, Sheila at the end there with, I do think that the product that we've done is hopefully, I hope what it does is that it inspires people. It inspires people to think about our city, to think about how Blackstone can change, to think about how the rest of the city can change, and to hopefully it inspires them to give some deep thought about how we should develop and how our city should continue to grow. I think that product does that. I think ultimately what we want is for people to take a look at that and hopefully are inspired by that to think about what's on Blackstone and how it can change for the good, for the better of Fresno. And I think that's the potential that it has. It has the potential to inspire people to hopefully think about this and to think about how Fresno can be, and to really not only go beyond Blackstone, maybe to other streets as well. And like Paul said, there are other communities that also need this type of deep thinking. And I think that's what it does. It has the potential to inspire change for the better.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just gonna add to like Paul said in art, right? Keith was our fearless leader. He likes to say he's a recovering urban planner, right? So I think that's really key in the vision for Better Blackstone, right? So we're in front of this mural that when Better Blackstone came to be in 2015, the community designed what they wanted to see on Blackstone, right? More green space, more walkable streets, safer sidewalks, right? And even when we were doing our workshop and planning these templates, I think that's one of the things that really took me back. I'm like, man, we're not just like, what can we build? What's gonna give us the more money, like the most land? But it's like, no, we wanna create healthy spaces for people to have a better quality of life. What's the open space? How can these corners connect? And people and children, like, we were very thoughtful. You were all very thoughtful in this thought process. And in saying, like, it's not just a nonprofit, right? Like, this is a person who worked in planning and city planning and has worked for Fresno and tried to bettering it. And now I'm like advocating on this different level, right? With great people like you who are passionate to improve our community.
Right. And what would you like to share with property owners, businesses, community resident, developers, investors, lenders, government, and others who can help create a better Blackstone?
Well, like Tony said, we came together to provide a source of inspiration for others. If architects and planners and landscape architects can come together and work together as a team, we hope that the property owners and the city leaders could do the same thing and work together and materialize the vision.
Thank you, Art.
Mr. Paul, I have to congratulate you on those socks too. I'm very jealous.
So reading this list here, property owners, businesses, community residents, developers, investors, lenders, government, and others. That's essentially our society. That's our city. That's everybody, every constituent in our city. Everybody in our city falls into one of those categories. So I guess what we would want to say to our city is dream, think big. Is it good enough? No, it's not. Blackstone is not good enough. Blackstone is a key part of the fabric of Fresno. It's not working, it's broken. So I think what I would like to say to our city, my neighbors, is it doesn't have to be this way. It can be better. It will be better if we think together deeply about how to improve it. So I think our efforts have gone a long way towards answering some really sticky questions. And there will be skeptics, and there should be skeptics. But I'm confident that the first few people who have the vision to take a risk, to try to do something on Blackstone, they will find that they have just ignited a fire that is going to sweep up Blackstone, and what we're going to see is a transformed Blackstone that's going to be the envy of the San Joaquin Valley. It may even be something that people throughout California begin to take notice of. And I think fundamentally, it can become a model nationally for how to create a world-class city out of a city that really has been kind of undervalued. So that's my goal, is to really transform Fresno into a world-class city. And I think it started with this effort we just all worked on.
I'm inspired. So, well said, Paul. I totally agree in that there's so much potential. And all that potential has really been identified as to the products. Like Sheila said, that she got a compliment from a constituent or a fellow disciplinarian. It's that says it all. That we've touched on something here that really is a tool that can be used and should be used. And we would hope that it's readily recognizable. Being a landscape architect, I don't deal a lot with the bones of projects financially and how they get off the ground. So this was an eye-opening experience to me in putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. So this puzzle has been completed. Essentially, the mural behind us, the products represent that mural. Mm-hmm. We have captured that, and what we've captured is a path to better quality of life for everybody here in Fresno, to our city. And I, like Paul, want to see its success and want to see it grow. We're 500,000 people here just in Fresno proper. It's going to get bigger, and we need some forward thinking here, and so we don't have more urban blight as we grow. We have to control outward growth and look inward. If you ask me, we need to start thinking about going up in high rise and stuff like that. So the products that are out there, I think, can be utilized readily and should be utilized readily in almost any project. Like Paul said, it's a template that can be used anywhere. So it's very encouraging to me and very inspiring.
Well, it's hard to add what everybody's been talking about, but I'd say to especially our politicians and our developers, what are you waiting for? Why is it taking so long? So I think there's an impetus here, and there's a window of opportunity. The tools are here where, before it has been, it's kind of a mystery. And in fact, it's always been kind of like, oh yeah, Blackstone Avenue. But it's like, wait a second. There's a kit of parts here that you can use. And it's like, now to me, there's no excuse. It's like, it's time. And so I think this project is kind of proves that point. And it does provide an inspiration, and it does provide transformation. It does provide a way forward that I think we haven't seen before.
Thank you, Terry. I think I would encourage everybody, all the names and organizations, and especially the community, residents of Fresno, to take a moment and walk a block or half a block on Blackstone. We often, almost all of us, just pass Blackstone in a speed of 40 or 50, and we miss a lot. You walk on the sidewalks, you maybe cross Blackstone where it's not dangerous, and experience that beyond this ugliness, there's actually an urban fabric. There's interest to walking. You walk from point A to B and you explore. You explore windows, you explore businesses, you explore properties, you explore sidewalks. Very often in other streets that doesn't have anything except a wall, that beyond the wall, things are located, you don't want to walk. Doesn't matter how beautiful the landscaping is, if there is not a point of interest to walk, you wouldn't walk it. But Blackstone is not like that. Beyond all the ugliness that is at the face, there is interesting walk, interesting places to explore on Blackstone. And take a look at our documents, our graphics, and imagine how could it be more interesting. Study it and then walk that segment and be inspired. I think our work here is just to prove that we just don't have to settle for minimum standards in Fresno anymore. The opportunity is there, and it's in the hand of everybody to get there and be more than what we have and than what we can be, and be an example for other communities.
Yeah, I think we need to think about how do we want to live? How do we want to live as a community, and how do we want to continue to live? How do we want to live in the future? And I think that, for developers, I think that I would say to really think about that. And, I think that I see so much of our urban sprawl, but I don't see options of different ways to live for our community here. And I think there's a real opportunity to provide a lot of housing in a more urban environment, maybe down Blackstone, and provide other types of opportunities for people to live. Not everybody needs a 3-bedroom home with a front and backyard. It's not what everybody's looking for, yet that's all that we provide at this point right now. There's not a lot of options, and I think that's something that needs to be explored. I think that our heart of our city is our downtown, and I hope that continues to grow, and that politicians and developers and everybody takes a good look at that and tries to continue to help to bring that back to life. But I think the main artery that feeds it is Blackstone, and I think that Blackstone also needs that same type of attention. And I think there's just a great opportunity to provide a great urban environment down there on Blackstone and be an example. We're the 5th largest city in the state, and we need to start acting like it. And I think to lending institutions and cities, I think, maybe we need to take a chance. We took a chance on the ballpark. I think we can take a chance on some housing. I think we can take a chance on our own community, on places that people will live, that we hope that they enjoy. And I think if we can do that and start enough momentum, I think it'll carry through. And I think that's what needs to happen up and down Blackstone. It's really what needs to happen downtown. And I just think that people need to start paying more attention to that. We need to start acting like the 5th largest city one of the largest states in our country, and really, if you look at the economy of California, probably one of the largest economies in the world. And I think there's a lot of potential here. We need to start thinking about that and doing something about it. So.
Yeah, thank you all. I think as you are all mentioning, combating sprawl, right? All these years of development or better planning that happened up north, right? Our project area was specifically from Shaw all the way to Highway 180, which we know there hasn't been a lot of investment. There's a lot of opportunities for infill. With Blackstone being rezoned, housing, the opportunity for housing, right? We know not just here in Fresno in California, but we're in a housing crisis, right? And different options of housing. I grew up by San Joaquin Memorial High School. That's where my parents live. I live downtown. I love going to Tower. Art, your office is in Tower. And my passion for Better Blackstone is that the whole corridor can be Tower District. I don't want to have to travel to River Park or the nightlife, right? For that vitalization to happen south of Shaw. Any other comments you guys want to make? Anything else you want to share?
I just encourage folks to take a hard look at Blackstone Avenue, at what exists, and then take a look at what was proposed and ask yourself which scenario would you prefer, and take action on it.
So I think what I'm really excited by is what we did as a local community, as a community of local designers. So I think we didn't have to call in an expert from some other part of the nation to come in and try to figure out what our problem is. We did it with our own kind of expertise and our own familiarity with our own city, and working with people that I don't usually get to work with other architects. So working alongside and really collaborating with other architects and design professionals was fantastic. So I love this, and thank you for allowing us to all be part of it.
Yeah, I want to thank Keith Berkfield. Vision of this, putting this together, was probably not an easy task. And I think what he's done is start a ball rolling downhill that I hope will just turn into the hugest snowball we can imagine. And I just want to thank the design team for being involved. It was fun to watch. I think the body of work speaks for itself. I think it's fantastic. And I want to express to the community that we have a great community here, and it can be so much better if we just think ahead and start to capture some of the lost spaces that we have in our city.
Thank you, Rich.
Any more, Terry?
Oh, again, to echo everybody else, thank you, Keith, for putting this together and allowing us to work together as a team. And it doesn't happen very often. And so it's been a really neat opportunity to meet everybody and just be able to collaborate. So, and I keep thinking, I know I'm beating this dead horse, but I grew up in Southern California, and there's a street called Colorado Boulevard. And from Orange Grove towards the lake was not a great place. And pawn shops and just dilapidated. Well, that's changed in the last 30 or 40 years. And I think that if that can change, Blackstone can certainly change. And again, it's a political will, but partly it's also opportunity and a community getting behind a project like that, so it can happen here as well.
Well, just thank you everybody for allowing me to be part of this team. I had a good advantage of rotating between the teams and seeing everybody's work and giving everybody some hard times here and there and learning. This was definitely a very positive learning process for me, being at the presence of these great people with a lot of more knowledge than what I have, and it's great. And just tap on what Terry was saying, we are part of the community, and hopefully not just from the professional side, being part of this town and part of this community, really hoping for better to come for our kids, for our families. I think we're going to be an engine to push this forward at every moment of our professional life, too.
Well, I'll just close by saying, I really enjoyed working with everybody here and the interns that we had, and the creative ideas that came out of every single one of you. It's stuff that I couldn't have come up on my own, right? We all, as Art said, we all bring a diverse background to this, and we all bring our own set of mindset of how we think about design. And there's just so many creative ideas that came out of this that was incredible, and things that I would have maybe not thought of on my own. And I'm really appreciative to see all those things and see some of the beautiful imagery and stuff that was created, and the environments that were created. And I wanted to thank Keith. I think we need more people like Keith. He's a visionary, and that's what we need. We need more people that have a vision, and not only is he a visionary, but he's persistent, and that's what it takes. This didn't come about in a month or two. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of perseverance, and we need more people like that. So thanks.
Agree that we have visionaries and then executors, and Keith exemplifies both. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much.